Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles, where fans become family. I'm Uncle Taz. I am here with Rob and Donald. And as we go into the September stretch, they did announce that Efros has been sent down. But I really think that was more of making room for Heel, and we'll see who's next for Schmidt. So we're getting reinforcements back in the rotation, but it just shows I want to say the flaws of the bullpen construction this year. I think the Yankees have gotten really lucky over the last couple of years where they've been able to find these diamonds in the rough that do blend in fairly well. But I think this year Cashman's bargain shopping luck just run out. And there's only so much you could do with some of these guys because they're all guys that have been DFA'd. So it's somebody else's trash is this year has not been our treasure. And I think that's the best way to look at it. It's just Cashman's bargain luck ran out. How do you guys feeling about it? Because there's no strength in the rotation just because you want to replace Holmes and there's no clear-cut answer of who that guy is. It could be this guy, it could be that guy. We could try that guy. There's no it's sitting right in front of you to just slide that guy in. And that's a problem going into September and the postseason.
Look, this bullpen has been rough for a while. They've gotten lucky, like you said, with a few of these guys that have turned into solid arms. Like, dare I say, for a little bit, Clay Holmes looked like a gem, but obviously not anymore. Ian Hamilton was that guy last year. Luke Weaver has been a very good breath of fresh air, despite the fact that his numbers have been kind of jumping up lately. But outside of Kane Lee, I think that might be the only one. He's the only guy that wasn't DFA'd. So it's a patched up bullpen. I don't understand why they sent down Efros after the game 2 days ago and not his first game when he got tagged. That would have made more sense. I know that Bickford's probably going to be the one that gets DFA'd for Schmidt tomorrow, but why not just do it and why not send Marinaccio down because he hasn't looked good at all? At least Efros had a couple of good innings, right? His last game, Efros looked a lot better. So, but they chose now to send him down. Like, some of these moves just don't make sense to me. And it's really just like pray. Whatever. I don't know if you guys try to do some sacrifices or whatever it may be, but you got to just pray this bullpen gets going because there's really no answer to it. I don't know if Hamilton's going to be that good. I don't trust anybody else. It's bad. It's really, really bad, and we're seeing it every night. They're burnt out. They're not very reliable. They're not very good, and they just got to pray that something goes right when we need it most. They got to find at least maybe 3 guys that are just locked down by the time we get to the playoffs because Mark Leiter ain't it, Clay Holmes ain't it, damn sure ain't some of these other guys like Tim Hill, maybe Hill, he's probably the best one we have right now, and Cousins. You're looking at someone from that group to try to step up, and it's bad. It really is rough, and I don't know if Ian Hamilton's going to be the one to save it because you're looking for one person to save an entire bullpen. Good luck.
Yeah, there's no David Robinsons. There's no, not even a Chapman at this point. There's nobody out there that's going to really. That's what makes this more puzzling than it should be, because there should be a clear-cut answer of who can be the go-to guy in the pen. You don't have one, Donald.
Right. So this is again all down to Brian Cashman. He made that trade for Scott Efros. How's that looking right now? He gave up a decent arm for Scott Efros. How did that work out? Mark Leiter, again.
Another bust.
Gave up an arm for Mark Leiter. Another bust. I think what Cashman did was he was like, okay, well, we've got a certain amount of budget. We can't really afford to spend a ton on the bullpen. So I think I can find some gems that can get us through. And for the most part, they found a lot more gems than maybe some would have thought, considering all these guys are someone else's bust a lot of them. Cousins, he's come out and he's great. Tonkin was great. Weaver was great, still is. Hamilton has been a surprise. These kind of guys, and Tim Hill is another option, another example. I'll give them some credit for that, but that should never be your entire bullpen. Your entire bullpen should never be made up like that, because there's a reason why a lot of these guys have been DFA'd in the past, right? So the fact that Cashman thought that they were all just going to magically work out, and to be honest, he got more out of them than anyone would have expected, and he should have been smarter. That once we got to the deadline, that was the time. That was the time to add one or two, at minimum one, really good high leverage arm, but he failed, and that's been the story of Brian Cashman for years now. Almost annually, we get to the trade deadline, and he has a great opportunity to put this thing over the top, and he fails. And it's been the story that's been going on forever. I mean, the couple of deadlines ago, he went from Montas, who was injured, and that failed, and then it's just been years of it. And if he doesn't overpay at the deadline, then he doesn't pay at all. And we kind of got a little bit of both this deadline, because there were options. There were options available that have gone elsewhere and have succeeded since the deadline, and Cashman sat in his hands. But he overpaid for Mark Leiter, so make that make sense. So Cashman has failed in his duties, and Brian Cashman has been a problem. His ego has been a problem for a long, long time, and Aaron Boone is just the mouthpiece for it. So yeah, I think it's, to be honest, I've seen this story every year. It's the same story. It's the same book. It's the same ending. I know what the ending is going to be. I hate to say it, but I do. I know how this is going to end this year. And call me negative all you want, but I've seen it for every year since 2018. It's the same story, just with a different cover. It's the same movie, just with different actors, but the same shitty producers. And you know what I mean? No matter how good your A-list actors are, if your producers are shitty, then the movie's gonna suck. And that's what it's been for years, man. That's what it's been for years, and it's long past the point of change. And there's finally people are starting to see it. Even Michael Caine on his show is just finally dumbfounded by some of the things that have been going on lately, and that really takes a lot to dumbfound him. So it's very, very, very frustrating and boring. Frankly, boring, because we've been saying the same shit every year for 4 years.
Yeah, and no, I don't think it's negativity. I just think it's, you're being realistic about the situation and not trying to sugarcoat it like, some broadcasters or sports writers or even people in our own front office that want to try to bullshit us and gaslight us that no, there's nothing to see here. Meanwhile, everything's on fire behind you. So it's not. You're not negative. None of us are negative. We're just aggravated because we know what this team could be, and we know that we have pieces in our system that can do it. It's just getting them into the right situations where they can be successful, and that's where the Yankees have fallen flat. They're not utilizing their players properly. We've seen this over and over again, whether it's the bullpen, the infield, the rotation, whether relying on veterans over prospects, where teams are just leaving us in the dust with their athleticism, and we have the tools to match them, step for step, but they're stuck in their own arrogance, and this is the result of it.
Yeah,
I think since June 1st.
We've been below 500.
We're a game under 500 from June 1st on.
Yes, and then over the last 70 games, we're 31 and 39.
Yeah. But they want to tell us that we were a World Series team.
Yeah.
Rob?
There's no answer for anything. It's just They don't want to spend on the bullpen. And it wasn't even that they had to go get a Tanner Scott. They could have had Michael Kopech, who's been phenomenal, and he cost them nothing. He would have cost you nothing. He's been great for the Dodgers. There were names out there that fit what they needed, but instead they decided, let's go and trade nothing but Rule 5 guys to get Mark Leiter Jr. because he's got a strikeout rate that we like. But he's not that good. And he wasn't that good. And then they went and got De Los Santos, who was terrible. And they're just trying to continue to make every single... Kiku, what are you talking about? And they're trying to make every single bullpen arm the same player, basically. Like, hey, you throw a sinker, you throw kind of hard, we're gonna try to turn you into a weapon. And not everybody is gonna turn into a weapon. They've had success. We've named a few, but they haven't had success with a lot of these guys, and they're trying to make an entire bullpen out of that. That's how you lose in October. Because we had the recipe a few years ago when we had the three-headed monster of Chapman, Betances, and Miller. We didn't make the playoffs that year. But even in the years that we didn't have that three-headed monster, we still had three guys that would lock it down. Of course, the ninth inning was never an issue. But you had to figure out the seventh and eighth. And you had guys like Damaso Marte, and that one year it was Phil Hughes. So maybe this year it'll have to be a Cody Poteet that goes into the bullpen and can try to get you a couple of innings. Maybe it's him. Maybe Hamilton does step up. Maybe is Luke Weaver as a closer. I really don't know what the answer is, but for the fact 2 deadlines now, or last year we shouldn't have even made any moves, but the last 2 deadlines that we were a winning team, I thought the Efros trade was good because Efros was good, but now they're trying to bring him back when he was hurt. And they sent him down when he actually had a good game, which doesn't make sense to me. But this year, to not add one significant arm, like,
failure.
It didn't make sense. You know, Leiter as a second option, fine. Because if you got like one big arm and then Leiter, and Leiter stunk, you're like, okay, well, I like Jack Neely, but I understood why they did it because he's a Rule 5 guy. They didn't want to call him up for whatever reason. But they should have pushed hard for a Tanner Scott. They should have pushed hard for an actual closer. But they didn't. The option 1 was Leiter. What happened to Fairbanks? Like, we were all in on Fairbanks apparently, and that never happened. Like,
disintegrated.
It's just weird how it went down where the price is too high, but you need a good bullpen to win in October. The Yankees should know this firsthand because they had the greatest to ever do it. Without him, they wouldn't have won a lot of those World Series.
Rob, would you agree that the Yankees almost overcorrected because obviously a couple of years ago they had a whole back end of the bullpen of Zach Britton, Chapman, and Ottavino, and they were ate into a lot of our payroll. It really did. There was a really expensive contracts. It was like that's at least $30 million off the top of my head. They were paying for 3 guys, and it stopped the Yankees from being able to, look at the other areas of the significant weaknesses all over the roster, which Brian Cashman always leaves us with. Don't you think that they almost overcorrected because they were like, all right, we're putting too much into this bullpen. We can actually have a decent bullpen without putting any money into it. So now you're looking at this situation of a bunch of DFA dudes and Clay Holmes, who was picked up off the scrap heap for a 5 ERA from Pittsburgh. And don't you think that they've almost overcorrected because they're a little bit feeling themselves? They're like, look at us. We're great. Look at us. Clay Holmes. Who else found Clay Holmes? We're great. Right? And it's almost like that now because their entire bullpen is made up of cheap options. And that's fine if 70% of your bullpen's like that, but you need to have 2 or 3 guys which you know that in the 8th inning and the 9th inning, you're locked down. You're fine. But they don't have that because they went cheap.
Yeah, it's arrogance. That's really what it is. I just want to
agree with that because I asked him the question. Rob, do you agree with that sentiment?
No, you're right, though. You're absolutely right because that's exactly what they did. They figured they can get cheap arms for nothing and make an entire bullpen out of that, but they need to spend some next offseason. That's all, because if they're going to make one big move and that's Soto, that's fine. They don't need to add a bunch of starting pitching. As much as people might want a Corbin Burns, they're not going to go spend for that. Not after the Rodon contract looks kind of iffy right now. So you have 5 starters under contract next year. You're not going to go get a starter. You got to get Soto back. The rest of the money has got to go to the bullpen. It has to go to the bullpen. And I'm not saying you got to go spend 10, 15 million on one guy, but you can spend maybe like 4 or 5. That's why I wanted some of these lesser names, but for like they were going to make like $3.5, $4 million. But instead they were like, no, let's just go get these guys that are like making 300,000 off of DFAs, and the entire bullpen was that. And it's fun to have a couple of them, sure, but to try to make a 8-man bullpen out of nothing but scrap heap, that's gonna blow up in your face. And look where we are now.
They overcorrected.
I do want to bring up a comment here and welcome someone new to the Pinstripe family. Kiku, that's how it's pronounced. Clay Holmes has set 11 healthy Yankee front lawns on fire this season, and he's still working in pinstripes. I couldn't hold down a lawnmower job if I performed like he does. And that's a really good point. Like, after a while, if you screw up that many times, they're like, look, you get off the lawnmower, grab the rake. But not this is the Yankees. Everybody gets handled with kid gloves. Nobody's ever told that they're wrong. Nobody's ever told that they failed. Nobody's ever told they suck. It's just all just go
and
get
sometimes you need
Go
that.
get them tomorrow. Go get them tomorrow.
And sometimes you need that because guess who's actually did well with a bit of accountability? That's Gleyber Torres. It was the only time Aaron Boone ever showed anyone any kind of level of accountability since he became manager over the last 6 years. And when he finally just was like, I've had enough of this, and he held Gleyber Torres accountable, guess what's happened? He's played pretty damn well over the last month. So maybe almost as if it actually works to actually manage people. What? That's crazy. Really? Are we sure? Wow. The arrogance of the organization. It's what it is. They're just scared. They coddle people too much.
I like this.
Coddling Verdugo. They're coddling Verdugo. Verdugo didn't even walk to first base in that last ground out. It was an odd kind of stroll that he took. And of course, Aaron Boone, our resident cuck in chief, what did he say? Oh, you know what? It's just he's banged up. Well, if he's banged up, where's Dominguez? Jesus fucking Christ.
Yep. No, it's I got a text from Spencer. It was going on Spencer. He's like, it's not even Clay Holmes' fault that he has blown 11 saves. That's the fault of the Yankees for letting it get to 11. And that's a very interesting take, Spence, because it is their fault. They keep letting this go. They keep rolling them out there, and they pander to them. Look, dude, we can't, you're still a value to this club. We're just going to use you in a different inning. We're going to put you in a different situation and let somebody else close it out. It's you still get to wear the uniform, so you can't bitch. You can't, it's not like you're just getting cut. But no, you're right about with Verdugo.
Jared, that's exactly.
I want to get to that too, because
Jared,
it's just
exactly
constant ineptitude.
Who wants to finish the statement? You guys are talking over each other.
Yeah,
Go
right.
ahead, Donald.
Jared, that's exactly what he said. He was asked if he saw a problem with the fact that Verdugo didn't run out the ground ball. He said no, he didn't have a problem with it. He's banged up. It's not a big deal to him. That's what he said. Even Michael Kay was like, "What?" I mean, because it's a contradiction of the Yankees I've been talking about for almost every episode now for the last 2 months. It's a massive contradiction. So that Verdugo is untouchable. You can't bring up your top prospect because of Verdugo, but Verdugo's apparently banged up. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, and Boone said, "Oh, Verdugo's playing his ass off." Well, that's clearly contradicting because he's not playing his ass off because he didn't even run it out to first base. So it's the contradiction. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, he's playing his ass off, but he's not actually running very hard. And I don't really see a problem in him not making an effort. And but he's untouchable because we can't call up Dominguez. Massive contradiction.
Yep. And Kiko, I don't know if the games. Believe me, if the games were rigged, they'd have the Yankees and the Dodgers in the World Series every year because that's their biggest ticket.
Now, let's not talk about rigging stuff because it's not rigged. You can't rig baseball. It would be so obvious if they were rigged. It sounds like something my dad would say. It's neat. It's not rigged. Like you said, Tats. If it
dumb.
was,
it ain't rigged. It's just dumb.
Yeah, it's just the Yankees are bad right now.
Yeah.
The bullpen is bad right now. Like you said, if it was rigged, the Yankees would be in the World or close to the World Series every year because that's where the ratings are. If the Yankees were in the ALCS every single year, in the World Series every other year, it would be Yankees Dodgers, Yankees Phillies, Yankees Mets would have happened several times by now because they know the ratings would be through the roof. It's not rigged. Why would you rig? If it was rigged, the Yankees would have been in the playoffs last year.
Well, let's look at Luca's point here because I think that is the real story here. Biggest reason why there's a disconnection between the fans and the Yankees as an organization is the latter thinks the former is pretty stupid and uses their puppets to do that, i.e. the media and the management. And I couldn't agree more. I think that's why I've never felt more disconnected from the Yankees. I've always felt that since Cashman made his changes, brought in Aaron Boone, fired some really good coaches, and changed the way their mentality to make it about the process. I've always felt that the process has really been the priority rather than putting your best players on the field at all times and try to win. It's you're not going to win every year, but by doing that, it raises your chances significantly. And they don't do that. And then instead of doing that, they then turn it on the fans and then blame us for being pissed and making us out like we're stupid, even though we've all been saying this for years. We've all been saying this for years. The ones that are switched on have been saying this for years because they know how this ending is going to be. Because it's the same story. I already know the excuses are lined up. The excuses are already lined up for October. That's very frustrating.
It's just why don't you put your best 26-man roster out there? That's all we've been asking, and it's clear that it's not there. And Ken, I would like to know where this article of Dominguez dogging it in AAA is from, because from what I'm seeing, the dude's playing his ass off. So the guy hit another home run yesterday. That's dogging it. He wouldn't have been hitting the way he is. He's trying to get back to. He's trying to get back to the Bronx. So I would, if you could post that article somewhere, I want to see it because. It's probably a smear piece for all we know. But look, he should be here. The fact that Verdugo is getting away with it and they don't care. But why do they care about Torres? They only started to care about Torres 6 years too late. But Verdugo's not going to be here next year. We know this, and they're giving him every excuse in the book. And like you said, if he's hurt, why is he playing? And then there's an article, I think, from Heyman that's the front office is torn between calling him up. How can you be torn about calling up your top prospect in favor of Alex Verdugo?
That's what's
because, look, and I said this last week, and I'll say it again, I'll echo it every single time. I make the Verdugo trade 10 times out of 10. Yep. We needed a left fielder. We gave up 3 pitchers that nobody remembers. You make that trade every single day of the week because Dominguez was hurt. We needed 2 outfielders. We needed a lefty. Verdugo has been a very good defender, and for a couple of months, he was a very good hitter. He's fallen off a cliff. He should not be playing every day. You want to keep him here? That's one thing. But the fact that they're continuing to play him and making excuses for him instead of their top prospect who's supposed to be your future, that's where the problem lies. You make that trade every single day of the week. But at this point where he's playing the way he is and he's jogging it out and now you're making excuses and you wonder why the fans are so mad. It just doesn't make any sense. In Luca, you're right. You're absolutely right. An Egyptian magician, you're absolutely right. This chat, except for maybe one person who's going off on a tangent, is absolutely right about everything right now. Play your best players. And you'll see different results. Fucking Duke Ellis, who we don't want to see. The dude, in a 10-run game, gets a big hit, and he's pumped up, and he's scoring, he's stealing bases. You're high energy. Jesus, if we had a whole roster of guys like that, maybe we'd be winning, and they don't seem to care, though. We got 80 wins. We're still right there in the race. Who cares if we lose a few? All that matters is we get there. I get it. It's a crapshoot. Playoffs is a crapshoot. But you've had every chance to run away with this division. Every chance, because the Baltimore Orioles don't seem to want it. But neither do we. And that's the issue. You could have ran away with this thing.
Yeah, and there's no, the fact that with the way the Yankees are playing, that nobody's pulled ahead just shows how the AL is not a strong league this year. The Yankees should have seen the chum in the water and just attacked it and just ran away with it. But no, they just sat on their hands going, well, nobody else is going to, it's not like we have to worry about anybody else. Yeah, you do. Because in the postseason, it's a completely different game.
Egyptian Magician and Miguel Batista. It's good suggestion with Jurickson Profar. I think that would have been worked out really well. But for the trade itself, it was fine. It was a steal of a trade. It didn't cost us much, and maybe we thought we could, get the Verdugo where he was first acquired from Boston, get that version of Verdugo, and then we would have been fine until Dominguez was healthy. The problem was Dominguez got healthy, and Verdugo's providing like 48 WRC plus or something ridiculous like that. I mean, you're only just hurting yourself. It doesn't make any sense. Why are you prioritizing egos in the locker room, and why are you prioritizing people's friendships in the locker room? I mean, that should never be the priority, ever. I don't care if you're a team that's got 30 wins like the White Sox or 80 plus wins. It doesn't matter. If you're prioritizing egos in the locker room over having your best players on the field, on your roster, then you're really just setting yourself up for a fall. Really. But they could have even done a little bit better. As Egyptian says here, can Grisham play left? No, but they could have done a little bit more where they didn't need to play Verdugo every single day. They didn't. Not all this year they didn't need to play him every day. You could have had a scenario where maybe mix it up a little bit. If he was a part of a platoon at left field until Dominguez was healthy, fine. But this whole everyday thing and then trying to blame us and trying to gaslight us that he's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, we're not stupid. The numbers are exactly the same. Terrible numbers.
I think there's 21 games left. Or
22, John. Because it's what are we, 80 and 60? So there'll be 22 games left.
So there should be 22.
Yeah, it's 22. Look, we've been talking about the potential issues for multiple years, as a lot of people have. So the fact that it's happening again, it seems to only surprise the Yankees, but they don't even seem too bothered by it. It's like, well, why are people so mad? Clappish had an article apparently that there was a veteran. He didn't say who, obviously. Okay, Sunil, calm down. But I'm just saying there was a veteran player that's like, why are people so upset that we're playing this way? Gee, I don't know. It's because you're a team that could be 100 wins by now, or close to 100 wins by now, and you don't seem to care. So that's why we're upset. It's like this happens every single year.
Yep.
Every year they do this. They start off hot and they fizzle out. Even last year, they had a great month of May, and then the second Judge got hurt, flat on their face. And then they were a terrible team from that point. Until he got back, they started to become like 500 ball club. But why does this happen every year?
Yes!
Look at the leadership. They don't seem to care. And if your manager's saying, no, I don't have a problem with him, he's hurt, he's banged up, that's where it trickles down to. I don't want to make it seem like it's just an Aaron Boone problem, but it comes from the top down. So, look, I don't want to keep repeating myself. I don't want to piss myself off. The time to move on from the manager was a long time ago. The time to move on from a lot of people was a long time ago. And they don't want to do it. But I think it was Cortez also, Garcia. That sounded like a Cortez quote. I don't know why people are so surprised, because he was the one that was touting the flying the Yankee flag after the deadline. But anyway, yeah, it's a mess.
That's another thing, though, man. We're hearing it from a lot of guys in the locker room. It's almost like they've been brainwashed. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like they've been sat down in a dark room and they're getting brain-fed as nonsense because that Aaron Boone preaches them, or Brian Cashman above them preaches them, because we hear the same thing. Marcus Stroman came here with a big personality, all only interested in winning. In fact, he was getting after guys for not hustling during the year. But now, did you hear him in his last interview? He was like, "Oh, it's just all about the process. We just need to follow the process. It'll be fine." Well, this process is 31-39 over the last 70 games. It can't be a great process.
Well,
And then Nestor Cortez is another one. Well, we're a damn good team. He's just repeating what Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone have been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And we hear the same shit from Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone, during the summer, when I was over in New York and he was banging his table, that same shtick that he does on an annual basis every single summer when the Yankees capsize, banging the table or whatever, going, "It's right there in front of us. We got to be better. Brr, 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 brr." And then he repeats the same shit months later when the Yankees still lose every other day. So it's not coming through to the locker room. Whatever message it is not being received. It just isn't, because I see it every single night. I see it. Win or lose, I see the same problems. I see people running to the wrong, throwing to the wrong base, not covering the right base, lack of communication in the outfield. I see all these things on a daily basis. Nothing gets done about it. I see people not run out hard out to first base, and I see Aaron Boone have no issue with it because he says he doesn't have an issue with it afterwards. So that's why when the Yankees were actually massively above 500 and starting great, I was concerned about the little things, because I was like, the little things are going to stop us from going and winning in October, because when we were winning every day in April and May, I was seeing the same issues. People not covering the right bag, just normal fundamentals. And the fundamentals have come back to bite us in the ass because we don't have any. And Aaron Boone doesn't preach any. He's not interested. He isn't interested. I don't know what Aaron Boone does on a daily basis. God knows, because nothing seems to get filtered through to this team. And as Rob points out, we've been a 500 team for a long, long time. If you look at it, the second half of 2022, we were a 500 or below team. All of 2023, we were pretty much a 500 team. 2024, bar 2 great months, the rest of this, we've been below 500. It's been a trend for years, and I could date back prior to that. The COVID season, we started off great for the first 3 weeks. We looked unbeatable. And then after that, we almost lost every single game towards the end of the stretch, and we barely snuck into the playoffs as a wild card. It's been an annual thing. This is not just you know what, just a little bit of bad luck will come around. This has been the same trend for years, and I don't understand why no one seems to care. No one in the organization seems to care about that. There's a reason why this team always falls off second half of every single season.
Yep. Like, it's Boone is just. We've said this over and over and over again, right? Since we've met almost 5 years now, that it's this process that everybody wants, that the front office wants to keep running out, and then the whole, the narrative of, it's right in front of us. Well, we're turning the corner. Well, and eventually you need to reach your destination. You can't just keep making turns while looking in front of you. You have to reach your destination. The Yankees don't seem to grasp that concept. Just put the pedal to the metal and get to the World Series at any cost, right? No, we don't want you to just go and just start dumping prospects for stupid trades just because it's in front of you, or the offer is out there. But they can't be this dumb. They can't be this naive either. You tell them, and it goes to Donald. I'm going to echo exactly what you guys were saying earlier. You got Verdugo, half-assing it, where they're trying to say that he's hurt or he's worn down, but you have a kid down in the minor leagues that's freaking tearing ass. That the only reason you have Verdugo is because he wasn't available. So now that he's available, you don't need Verdugo.
Yes, there's a contradiction.
Okay, it's Yeah, I know. Duke Ellis is going to save the year. He's going to be World Series MVP, and we're all going to eat crow. Yeah, exactly.
Look, you know what? You might want to keep him on the roster over some of these other guys.
Yeah.
Just that one hit alone where the dude showed passion and energy, even in a game like that, you're like, shit, we haven't seen that from any of these guys. Like, for a lot of these guys, we haven't seen that from Verdugo. That's for damn sure. He gets the excuses for jogging it to first base, but here's Duke Ellis, who not a single person in here or on Twitter or anyone wanted on this team, and the guy could have been a freaking rally that almost brought us back. I don't know. Look, he's not going to be here, but speed kills. Speed absolutely kills, and we can use a lot more of that on this team come October. I can tell you that. I don't want to see Alex Verdugo on the field in October. I'd rather see Duke Ellis on the bench over Verdugo as a pinch run option, but the Dominguez argument, the fact that we're still talking about it, what is it, September 6th now? 22 games left. You're going to get 95 at-bats in 22 games.
Well, not the way Boone manages.
No, exactly. You could sit him. You can make an excuse. You could clinch a play. Dude, here's what they could do. They could call him up today. The second they clinch a playoff spot, they could sit him. It would look terrible, but they could be like, well, we got in. We just want to give him a rest. He's played 20 games in a row. There's your excuse. This is the team that makes excuses for everything, and they don't want to do it. Oh, my goodness. I'm still mad they don't call him up, but why is Verdugo... Again, who I like the trade. I like Verdugo. But why is he getting the excuses? Why is he getting all this run when you know damn well he's not going to be here? And like you mentioned earlier, Tats, he was there because Dominguez wasn't ready. And now Dominguez is ready. Here's your chance.
Contradiction. That's the contradiction.
We're repeating ourselves.
Are your priorities egos and veteran egos who won't be here going forward? Or someone who has a big future? Where are your priorities?
That's the frustrating part about Boone. And listen, Kiko, I'll make you a deal. All right, on Mondays at midnight, we have a really fun show where we kind of let loose a little bit. Just so we can stay on topic with the Yankees right now, because we're going to get into some awards, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. I'll do a whole segment of Monday Night Show just on I'll do it on the effects of the gambling industry and professional sports. So we want to come hang out, and we'll go back and forth for a little while. I have no problem with that, but because we do appreciate you in the comment section. We're not ignoring you. It's just not the topic at hand. But I will make that a topic so we can have a little interaction, because it is fun to talk about. But it's also fun to do Donald's Awards.
All right. First of all, as I say, hit the like button. Every single awards, I want to see some likes. I want to see some likes climb up there so we can get this out there. So if everybody right now hits that like button, please. I'll give you guys 5 seconds to go and do that. 5, 4, 3, 2. Move that cursor down. Click like. Thank you very much. And if anyone who is watching afterwards, hit the sub button, as we are climbing up to 800. That is the next milestone. So we got some exciting things to give back to our community. So hit that like button, hit that sub button. Right. That's the only thing positive I can say about that slot fest that I had to endure. It's always just dumbfounding, these decisions. But anyway, let's start with the positives. There are a couple. You have to really look and search. But I trust my boys Rob and Tats to find that. So let's start with the MVP. Rob, find me an MVP.
I got Glaber. He showed up every game. He had a hit in every game. He's been having a hell of a run as of late as a leadoff hitter, and he's been trying at least to set the table for the guys behind him. Unfortunately, Judge and Soto were up until the other night. They've in a bit of a lull, but they're going to get it going soon. Soto had a 3-hit night the other day, so the turnaround for those two is coming. But Glaber's been great, and he had another good series, so he hasn't gotten many MVP awards this year, so it might be the last time we can give one to him.
Yeah, he was good. Tats.
I also had Torres. I think he's done a really good. If only he was this consistent in the leadoff spot his whole career, we could be looking at a totally different Gleyber Torres. But the other part of his offense this series only struck out once, so that's a big thing, especially in this day and age of baseball, because strikeouts are not frowned upon like they used to be. But he grinded out the at bats and got and he did whatever he could.
So it's fair to give Glaber some props. He actually had a very good series overall, no doubt about it. I was thinking about Stanton because he had a big game one of the series, but overall, I'm going to give the MVP to Jazz Chisholm. I think Jazz Chisholm deserves some props. Multiple hits throughout the series. Played pretty good defense, and he's one of and stealing bases for fun. He's one of the very few positives that you can really take out of these games. He's been awesome, so I'm gonna give him props and give Jazz Chisholm the MVP. Let's go with the low key. Let's start with Tats.
My low key is Volpe. If it wasn't for Boone and Holmes, combining, to blow it, then we're looking at a totally different outlook of the series. I think Volpe he was not going with the bases loaded with 2 outs. He wasn't going to let the pitcher beat him, and he stayed focused. He fouled off some tough pitches and ended up getting the big hit. I mean, it could be, that could qualify him for the clutch, but that's going to be for something different. But I think Volpe also had a really good series.
Rob.
I wanted to give it to Volpe, but Jazz had the overall better series. I'm going to give this one to Jazz. Volpe could, like you said, Tats, could easily get that clutch award. But I got something else in mind as well. I think we're on the same. I don't know if we're on the same wavelength here, but yeah, I thought Volpe was okay this series, the first 2 games, but overall, Jazz was just had the better overall series. So I'm going to give this one to Jazz.
Yeah, Jazz had 5 hits through the series, which is really, really good. I would give my low key to Gleyber Torres. I don't think there's too much of a debate about that. He probably earned it, and to be honest, didn't he save Clay Holmes' bacon? In the 10-6 game, didn't he come in and save his ass? Because Clay Holmes was desperate to lose that one too. He was like, "I'm gonna serve this one up, baby. I'm gonna serve this one up." But Gleyber Torres made a phenomenal play, diving up the middle to stop that, because that goes through. Then 2-run score, and then suddenly, I'm guaranteed that Clay Holmes would have given up that home run. So worked out well thanks to Torres. So I'm going to give him the credit for that play alone. So he gets that. Let's go with the clutch award. Let's start with Rob.
Giving my clutch award to Michael Kay for actually calling out Alex Verdugo in the middle of the broadcast. I don't like Michael Kay's announcing very much, but these past few days, he has been going nuts. He called out Verdugo in the middle of the game, and then he went absolutely nuclear on a fan on his show yesterday. I don't know if anyone saw that.
Yeah,
he said, "Come get me fired. Come get me fired. I dare you." He's mad too, and we give him a lot of shit for trying to tote that company flag a lot, but these past few days, he has been very anti everything, kind of, with the way they treat the whole
establishment.
Yeah, he's kind of going into this like Rage Against the Machine type of mode. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but yeah, Michael Kay, I want to give him some credit.
Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me. Let's go with that.
My clutch, I gave it to Grisham, and grand slam, even though the game was a loss, to come off the bench like that, he has not had really legit playing time. So there was a ton of rust on him, and he got us a hit that really kept the game going. And for a split second, it was like, well, maybe we have a chance to come back on this bullpen. And we haven't had that opportunity to feel that way in a while. And they still got another couple runs on after that. So he did give a good spark to the bullpen, to the rest of the bats, to kind of make a good push for it. So I thought that at bat from Grisham was legit a clutch moment.
Man, Stanton was that close to making it a one-run game. Could you imagine?
And that's who I'm going to give the clutch award to. Giancarlo Stanton. He had a home run, game one. Big reason why we won that game. Kind of quiet rest of the series, but then was that far away from changing how this series would have been. Incredible catch over the wall. That was a home run. Bad luck, but that was as clutch as it really gets. So I'm going to give Stanton the clutch award because, to be honest, as I've been saying, he's the definition of clutch.
Yeah.
No matter what people throw at him, no matter what criticisms he gets, a lot of it from his fan base, sometimes from his own general manager, he still stands up. He's the most accountable of anyone in that locker room. He always just calls it straight. And he calls his performances what they are if they aren't good. And he seems to often come up big in big spots. He's great in the playoffs. And he's been trying really hard to keep this Yankee team afloat. He's not able to because this team is so incompetent, but he tries. And so that's why he gets the clutch award. He's trying damn hard to win us games. And Jones right. Stanton could have beat Verdugo to first. He actually ran hard. Great point. Let's go with Aaron Boone out of 10. Let's start with Rob.
0. I know we got to win.
Was that your dog? I heard whimpering.
Yeah.
Jesus. I'm giving him a 0. Not the dog, Aaron Boone. He got bailed out in that first game. A really good offensive performance, and thank God they didn't blow it because they almost did. That Garrett Cole had to leave because of the cramping in his leg or whatever it was. But the decision making, constantly going to Clay Holmes, not pulling him when you need to pull him, the excuses, yeah, it's a big fat 0. The post game comments would have been a 1, but then he made those ridiculous remarks after the game. So I don't give negative scores. Once again, he's getting a 0.
Uncle T.
All right. No, I gave him a 0. You can't make the comment. You can't make the moves that you made, and then the comments afterwards. You are completely shot. You're done.
Yeah. I mean, he's a 0, absolute 0. The big problem was the insanity that was to have Anthony Rizzo pinch hit for DJ LeMahieu. So if Anthony Rizzo was available that day, why couldn't you have gone an inning earlier and made him a defensive replacement? Because the reason why we blew that save is because DJ LeMahieu made one of the worst plays I have ever seen at first base. And that is not hyperbolic. That was literally one of the worst plays I've ever seen. Uncle Tats the dog would have made that play. Everyone would have made that play. There's nothing. No one. There's people. Vendors would have made that play. Anybody would have made that play, blindfolded. But DJ LeMahieu, who is untouchable, can't make it, and that's partly the insanity of this organization because Anthony Rizzo should have been as a defensive replacement much earlier. That's on Aaron Boone because he's a moron, and his decision making is moronic, and his excuses are moronic, and his lineups are moronic, And basically everything that he has been doing as a manager over the last 2 months is nothing short of moronic. We have a moron as a manager. He's a complete moron. Maybe he's smart outside of baseball, but during the game, he is a complete and total moron. Right. Let's get to the L. Start with Rob.
The lights. I don't know. By the way, thank you guys for bringing that up in the chat because I forgot that he mentioned the lights again. I thought I was having flashbacks to the roof talk about the Houston series 2 years ago. It just never ends with the Vietnam flashbacks. But the L's got to go to Verdugo and LeMahieu. Kind of a tag team effort. They were both equally pitiful this series. LeMahieu's defense, I could give it to Boone. I could give it to my dad for predicting we were going to win, and as he usually does, he mushed it, and we lost. But Verdugo and LeMahieu, man, Verdugo not running, he gets the excuses. DJ not playing defense, he gets the excuses. That means the L's got to go to the guy giving them the excuses. Aaron Boone is getting the L, along with the two guys he continuously gives excuses to. It's a triple threat of L's. It needs to stop. DJ, Verdugo, Boone, massive L's, triple L. It's brutal listening to these excuses every single game.
Tats.
I had Stroman. He's got to do better. He was looking like he was starting to kind of figure it out coming into the stretch of the season. And he just couldn't do anything. He's got to do better than that. Believe me, there are, as Rob just ran through the gauntlet of it, there's plenty of them to give out. But with the way the bullpen is, the starters have to put out solid efforts, and that was as far from a solid effort as I've seen for a while from them. So Stroman's getting me out.
My L is Clay Holmes. Now, I could have given him the Aaron Hicks Award for the worst of the worst of the worst, but I'm going to give him a reprieve because he actually was very accountable after he got, well, quote unquote, demoted. He said whatever it takes. There was no ego involved. He was just like, yeah, I only care about us winning. So whatever it takes for us to win, cool. Like, no issues here. That's a good dude, right? So he is no longer the Aaron Hicks Award contender for that. Because to be honest, there's a lot of people in that Yankee locker room which are a little bit inflated with their egos, and he's not one of them. He just sucks, and it's not his fault that he sucks because it's the Yankees' fault for putting him in that position to suck when it's been obvious for years that he sucks as a closer. He can't do it. So he gets the L though because he tried damn hard to blow a massive lead in game one. He worked really hard to blow that. And that's when Michael Kay finally reached the end of his tether. That's when he finally it snapped. Once Clay Holmes was loading the bases with a giant lead, he was just like, it's never a dull moment with this guy. Like, this is insane, but what are we doing? He just finally just gave up on trying to peddle the yes narrative. So that was credit to him for that because Clay was atrocious. He was almost worse in that outing in game one, which we won, because the next game was just horrible. But again, there was some horrible defense in there as well. But that's not an excuse. He just sucks. He just sucks. He doesn't have it. I've been saying it for years, and I take credit for the fact I've been saying it for years because I get a lot of stuff on Twitter from people saying, oh, look at his XYZ. Oh, he's great. He's the next Mariano Rivera. He can't do that. It's just gaslighting. It's just nonsense. He just doesn't have it. But again, that's the Yankees' fault for putting him in a position to not have it. He's a better reliever. I think if he came in situations where his sinker can induce ground balls and double plays and get out of some jams, I think he'd be okay. But he doesn't have it in the ninth inning. He just doesn't. And stop being a dead horse. He just doesn't have it. He embarrassed us with that blown save and that That home run went, dude. That went into downtown Dallas. That home run, like he got
That was a
so
shot.
walk off grand slam. Are you kidding me? Embarrassing. He's an embarrass. He's an embarrassing closer, and he's our worst closer that I can ever remember, by far. I think he's our worst closer in Yankee modern history. I dates back to Wetland. Wetland wasn't this bad. Like this guy's on another level. He's worse than Chapman. What do you guys say to that?
I wasted all my breath on him the other day.
Let's get to the Aaron Hicks Award. Let's start with Rob.
It's exactly why I'm not giving it to him, because I already said enough about the guy. I mean, he should probably get it because that was just another icing on the cake type of game for him. But Mark Leiter is so goddamn bad. He needs to get this award. Why he was brought, it's another reason why Boone takes the L, but why he was brought in to face Adolis Garcia, I'll never understand. And as expected, he gives up promptly, like 2 pitches later, gives up a big hit that put the game basically out of reach. Mark Leiter, that was your big acquisition at the deadline, on deadline day, I should say, to improve this bullpen. And he's been absolutely garbage. And I didn't think he'd be this bad. He had like a 4.3 ERA or something like that. I'd kill for a 4.3 out of him right now. Because he's got like a 7, I think. It's that bad. The dude's been utter shit since coming over here. His ERA is skyrocketed since becoming a Yankee. He's got a 5.79. He was a 4.21 as a Cub. That's a 1.5 lower. Jesus Christ. Get rid of him, please.
Yeah. I think
Unbearably bad.
Yeah.
Tats.
That's a good one, Rob. Good call on that one. But I had Verdugo. You have Dominguez breathing down your neck whenever the Yankees decide to come out of this fog that they're in. Your replacement is a phone call away, and that's the effort you're putting out. You should be ashamed of yourself as an athlete. That was utterly embarrassing, and that should never be seen in pinstripes again. It's thank God he's only here for 1 year. But like I said, I would have made like I said, and I agree with Rob. I would make that trade 10 times out of 10. But the payoff has not been there. The effort, and when we need him the most in the season, to put that out, it's unacceptable, and he should be ashamed of himself.
Well said, bro. Well said. My Aaron Hicks Award goes to Brian Cashman. Because for numerous reasons. Let's start with the easy ones. De Los Santos. That was your trade deadline acquisition. What's he doing now? Where is he now? Is he working at Walmart? What's he doing? What about the Mark Leiter Jr. trade? He has been mind-blowingly atrocious. And then he sent down Tonkin only to get picked up by the Twins. Did Tonkin do any worse than Efros and Marinaccio and Maeza and all the other dudes? Because now Efros was up for a cup of coffee. Now he's sent down again. This Yankee organization doesn't know what they want to do. Marinaccio called up. He blows. The Yankee organization doesn't know what it wants to do. They called on Maeza from the scrap heap, thinking that they could turn him around. They gave him like a week down in AAA. He needed about a year in AAA to fix his issues. There was a reason why he got DFA'd. I know he was a high leverage arm, but there was a reason why he got DFA'd. The Yankees thought that 1 week in the magic Yankee system, and he turned back into what he was last year. He isn't. And now he's back and he sucks again. But the Yankees have different standards. And it's all because of Brian Cashman. He did a horrible job at the deadline. He's really screwed us. And really, it was his decision. It was his decision with this Verdugo nonsense because his arrogance, he wanted to protect Dominguez's rookie status. That was his priority. It was all about his rookie status. He was the one that championed him as the 27th man. Although Aaron Boone wore it, Brian Cashman had to be the one that pushed that because he's the GM. He has all the power, and the decisions are insane. So yeah, I blame Aaron Boone because he's a cuck. But to be honest, Brian Cashman is the one that's making these decisions up top, and they're dumb. And his guy Dominguez is ready to go, but he has to protect his trade acquisitions because it's now looking exactly the same as Nick Johnson, Javier Vazquez, who he brought back multiple occasions because he refused to admit that they sucked back then. That's going back in time, but they did. He brought them back on multiple occasions just for them to continue to suck because he refuses to admit when he gets things wrong. Right? Kagawa was a Yankee for far longer than he ever should have been. But Brian Cashman can't admit when he does something wrong. And now we got up to the IKF thing. He can't admit that he wasn't a shortstop. Gleyber Torres at shortstop. He couldn't admit that he wasn't a shortstop until September when it was too late. He is the reason why this is happening. He was the reason why this Josh Donaldson trade was a disaster. He could have moved off of it quickly. He didn't. That's on him. Aaron Hicks should never have been re-signed to that massive contract. Are you kidding me? And I went on Twitter. I was like, this Aaron Hicks extension of 10 years is going to blow up in their face. And I got a lot of shit for it. From Ryan Rucco, even. He came at me going, this is a great trade. This is a great extension. He's a steal. And I'm like, all right, bro. Just wait. And who was right? So this is Brian Cashman. And this Verdugo trade is exactly the same thing. He will refuse to admit that it's done with him. Just move off. DJ LeMahieu, that extension. It's done with DJ. You could have cut him this year. You haven't done it because of his arrogance. His arrogance. And it's his arrogance that's filtering through to this organization. Because all of them seem to be worried about a process over results. So the fact that Dominguez isn't here, the fact that Verdugo is still here, the fact that Aaron Boone doesn't hold anybody accountable, all of it starts at the top. The fact we don't have a bullpen, the fact we don't have a closer, starts right from the top. I guarantee that if we had a better option at closer and Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone weren't so egotistical, we would have moved off that option. But we don't because he can't admit that he's wrong. So that's what it is. It starts from the top. He is the Aaron Hicks, Brian Cashman. He's sitting there in his ivory tower laughing at us, and he sends out his media minions to go and tell us all that we're wrong. And I'm tired of it, and I call shit for shit. It's bullshit.
I mean, what do we know? We're just watching every game.
Right.
But yeah, we're the idiots in the room. Well, we do watch this.
The award I forgot to give was a pitching award. Who was your pitcher?
Rodon.
Yeah, that was a gimme.
Yeah. Credit to Rodon.
I don't think anybody's in disagreement on that one.
Credit to Rodon,
if Cole didn't cramp up, he probably would have had it.
Yeah.
Credit to him. He pitched his ass off. We'll finish on a positive for the weekend. How about that?
Yeah, no, Rodon, we talked about him the other day. It was, that was one of those outings where you that might have been his best outing as a Yankee to date.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, well, that is going to wrap things up for us this morning. Hope everybody did enjoy the show and the chat. You guys rock. Couldn't do this. We wouldn't be doing this without your support. So we do appreciate you. We hope everybody does enjoy their weekend. Make sure you tune in Sunday for the Upper Deck at 11 with me hosting. I'll be filling in for the girls, and we will be back, the three of us, on Monday morning. So make sure that you hit that sub button, join the chat, hit that like button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. And as I always like to say, with those pinstripes of pride, and play hard.
Have a great weekend, everyone.